Woohoo! Oh my goodness! Oh, that was so great. I haven't played this fugue since my undergrad auditions, and so it brings back so many wonderful and terrifying memories. But first of all, I wanted to congratulate you on keeping your shoulders relaxed the entire time, and your bow arm was so fluid. And yeah, I mean, it's so easy to tense up during Bach in particular, and the fugues in particular, and you stayed so relaxed and just kept the flow very well. So that was very impressive. Where should I start? Oh, and the chords all spoke and resonated very well. I see you're in a nice, lovely, boomy living room, so you got that nice like warmth and resonance. And what I'm wondering we can work on is playing around with articulation a little more, especially because you have Elizabeth's bow. If you've seen her play, she's, off the string 1 second and then really laying in the next. And even in the beginning subject, I think you can, well, let me demonstrate sitting down, but a little more, and then when the chords come, maybe start digging in a little more, but playing around with those characters. So maybe if you want to do like the first however many measures, maybe the first 10 measures for me, and just see what you can come up with, because the subject first give me a character that you're going to attempt with your articulation.
What I've kind of been going for
So how would you describe that in one adjective?
I've been told to try something like bow vibrato.
Like bow vibrato, but give me a character. Is it Is it mischievous? Is it solemn? Is it dramatic?
It's none of those things. I would say probably sweet right now.
Sweet. Well, good.
Go for it. I think about it that too.
Okay, now give me some sweet articulation. Sweet. Where do you see just that kernel of the subject? So the bum 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 ba da dum bum bum. Where do you see that shaping to? Like, what's the high point of that little phraselet?
The half of them. So it's like.
Yeah. Great. And I think you could do more of that, especially because it comes up so often, and it's easy with such a tiny subject to just kind of truck along. And if you're not being, I mean, we're all guilty of it. Like if you drop your focus for 1 second, one of those 3 pickups can be a little heavier, and you lose that shape. So I think just being conscious of that shape. Okay, so now I'm just going to challenge you, and then I'll leave the opening phrase, and we'll go to somewhere else, I promise. So now try to do it sneakily. Like a little, like, bum, 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 like a sneaky little mouse. I thought that was awesome. I mean, the other way, like both ways you played it were wonderful, and there are just so many possibilities. And I think you can, take the time to go through the piece and establish those characters within all the different subjects, because I think the sweet version is great, and I think the mischievous version is great, and there are so many ways you can do it. And even in all the arpeggiated 16ths, I think you can play around with the articulation. We're sitting down demonstrations. So even in like measure 7, and I haven't played this since I was 18, so don't judge me. Just twisty and a little funky. And I think what would help with the articulation, I know I complimented you on your extremely relaxed bow arm, but sometimes that can get in the way, especially because I have the same habit of a very loose wrist, but sometimes that can lead to you don't get quite as much control. So you can, when you're digging in and playing smoothly, you can keep that smooth wrist, but then if you want to jump off the string, you can kind of lock it a little bit. Do a soft lock, not a hard lock on the wrist, but you see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Cut up in your face, yeah. Especially for when you're jumping strings, then you can have the control. The control transfers to the fingers, where then that's how you're controlling, what string you're on, how you're gripping it, and yeah. You don't have to do that pecky articulation, but just the example of that. And let's pick a chordal passage where the chords were great, but now I am going to challenge you a little more to bring out the melodic line. So, I mean, yes, we want to, prove to ourselves that we can play the chords and get every note. And we're like, I practice this. I'm going to get these notes. I can do it. But for the sake of, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. I didn't see smoke coming out of your ears when you played this, so that's good. But now that you have done the work, and it's very clear you've done the work, and the notes are there. Now it's going that one step further and shaping the whole piece, just, peeling, getting deeper and deeper into the piece and shaping those layers. So even in measure 11, when those chords start, that's always the bleep part, in auditions and stuff. You're like, here we go, we're in it now. And I think that to help the melodic line shine is, instead of digging in, which it's all of our habit when we see, big chords, fast stuff, or whatever, to dig in. I think that's when, you keep your already relaxed shoulders even more relaxed and just think about the line and, kind of easing up on the lower ends of the chord. Oh, that's an E flat, playing E flat there, but yeah. So, something like that, just kind of skating a little bit on the lower ends of the chord and emphasizing the top. And you can also play around where you can get very neurotic about it too, where you're, I want the bass and the top to sound. So how am I gonna, ease up on the middle of the chord, which is where we tend to swell, because that's right where in the bow, that's our kind of habitual swell point. So challenge number 2, can you kind of revving up into it, start in measure 10, and this time I want you to focus on making the top line sound as though you're not playing it with chords, but play the chords. You can do it. Woo! You got a big old nod from Emma. The second you start, she's like, "Yep, you got it." And I know it's hard to hear under your ear. You're like, "Oh, is that what I sound like?" But out here, when you actually ease up on the bottom, it gives an equality of resonance to the entire chord, but still the top is shining. Okay, and now, this is really in it, and the weird challenge. So now I want you to emphasize both the bass and the soprano, but see if you can ease up in the middle of the chord. Just think about what you have to do.
Yeah.
That's a challenge for the practice room. when you're in performance, I would definitely err on the side of, easing up on the chords, just letting them resonate, and then emphasizing the top. But that's a good, I kind of dare myself to sound not great in the practice room, and just kind of figure out what works, what really doesn't work. So by the time it's performance time, you've already, gone over all your options. And it can be tedious, but if you, I don't know, I think it can also be kind of fun just playing around, especially with chords and stuff, because there's so much potential with the violin. And it's clear you've already done all of the work that's necessary, so I'm just throwing these challenges at you to just...
Yeah, it's been about, making this thing come to life, making it not as difficult, and not freaking out about it, I think.
Yeah. Well, that totally came out. So you seemed very relaxed and just kept going. I mean, that's the whole challenge of these things is, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just we gotta get through it, we can do it. And okay, wait, what's the passage that makes you, when you get there, kind of come out of your trance a little bit?
Well, what do you mean by that? Come out of my trance?
Well, when you're in the piece and you're going along with the flow, and then there's that one scary passage that kind of, the red flag goes up, and you're like, oh, here it is.
Well, I can name a couple. And
let's work on this together.
Huh?
Let's work on them together. Tell me about them.
Well, the very first one is measure 5. It's the second chord. And just really hard to approach it. Has been hard for me to get into.
That, yes. Have you tried, because it might be, I understand the up-bow that you're doing there for the sake of lightening the chord, but I think it can also kind of discombobulate you a little bit, because you have to grab that bass note. If you just tried, for my bowing when I did this, I think that just maybe try a double down on the 16ths and then do a light grab. Just try that first, and then we'll peel away the layers.
There's 2 different parts that we can play around with, but
yeah. It'll take some practice, but also,
it does feel better.
It's just little, like that little change kind of helps. There's something about grabbing a bass note on a down bow that is just physically pleasing, I think. And in terms of preparing for that chord, I didn't play it perfectly either, and it'll definitely take me some practice to get it up again, but that preparation, always thinking one step ahead is definitely necessary with these types of pieces. So as you're playing one thing, you kind of have to already have the next piece set up. So while you're doing that, kind of start bringing your 4th finger around for that low D. And while you're, it's a domino effect. While you're setting that low 4th finger, then kind of let the 2 and the 1 fall into place for the. I don't know if it's how can I give you aerial view, but you know what I'm talking about, like whatever the notes are. Yeah, just that little bit of knowing you're one step ahead, but then at the same time, living in the moment of what you're currently playing. But especially for while you're, in your practice room doing the slow, gross practice. You know what I'm talking about. But it's necessary. It's like eating your broccoli. It's, it's good for your health. But I would go through it just slow, like the whole fugue, and then eventually the whole sonata, just super slow, and kind of practice that anticipation of where your fingers are going and where your bow is headed, just so you have kind of mapped it out. And then the more you work on it, then you can kind of let the spaces breathe, and you know it's all there.
Very healthy practicing.
It's honestly, I used to hate practicing, but once I started doing this like super slow kind of meditative practice, I don't hate it as much. I'm not going to say I love it because that would be a lie, but I don't hate it as much. And the rewards afterwards are so much, bigger. So do you want to try that slow and just see how setting your hand feels? Hmm? Nailed it. Did that feel better? Because it sounded, just like it flowed right along, but I could tell you were just that much more prepared this time around. Oh, my iPad blacked out. Come back. Okay.
That feels better, and I think I'm going to play this thing for like the past 6 months. And, I do need to go back to like slow practice, because I think I've just been getting stuck with this piece lately, and I've just been like doing small progress, but I think slow practice is what I'll be doing.
Yes. Wait, so you said you've been working on it for 6 months?
Well, I've actually also used this piece to audition for my undergrad, so it's been
yeah.
This is I was like 16, and then I like took a big break from it, and then like I've been reviving it for all of my applications and auditions and things, and kind of been working on it for 6 months, probably more. Okay.
No, that's actually good that you took a big break from it, because I was going to say, if you've been working on this piece for 6 months, put it away. Even for if you have the time, a week or something. But you've already done that, so that's great. What I would do as you're reworking it is, you've sealed in so much from working on it before. I would definitely challenge yourself to find new things in this, second time around, because you've, in the time you've worked on it, you've definitely matured so much, and so much has, like day to day are playing changes. So I would say find those little differences you can make, and those little maturities in your playing that you can put in with that slow practice. I think the results would be even better. And the result is already, we'll say you just need you can push it an extra 5%. To take it to the next level. And then, the next time you bring it back after putting it away, it'll be, 5% even better and better. Yes. Okay. How about, I really liked those arpeggiations that you were doing. Was it in 38?
Yeah, 30 starts at 35, the arpeggiation bit.
Yeah. Can you play that for me?
Where I absolutely freak out, because it's just so much left hand.
Yes. Let's work on it. Can you play it again?
Hmm?
Can you play it again?
Sure, starting at 35.
Okay. Yeah. No, that was really great. And
The hardest. I don't know if it's the hardest. It's just so much of it.
it is a lot. And I think you can allow yourself certain moments of really just chords, violin, sound, and if that's the spot that you want that to be there, awesome. I just think it's a matter of intention and not necessity, because the chords did sound really great, and with the violin and the bow, they were resonating, and I can imagine in, a performance hall that would just, hit to the back of the hall and be really, really effective and impressive. So within that, let's go with this big sound hitting the chords, shaping that phrase so not every chord is the same weight and the same importance. So can you try it again and throw me some shapes? Take me on a trip, like.
Same place?
Yes. That was really great, and I mean you can do even more ridiculous shapes there, and just it's just kind of a silly tip, but since I know this is the passage that makes you I would encourage you, just as you're about to go into the passage, when you're playing the whole piece, just smile a little bit. Even if it's within yourself or physically, on your face, just, kind of deep breath and smile. And you're like, I'm going to see an old friend and it's going to be wonderful. Just, I'm totally at peace. That's kind of my trick. You'll never know if it's because I'm actually having a good time or because it's a hard spot, because I smile most of the time, but it definitely helps. There's that, psychological thing where if you're smiling, you convince yourself that you're happy. I think that helps in hard passages and stuff like that. And I really liked the shapes you were doing, especially for the starting in 38, hitting the top, like really resonant and boomy. That was really great. How much time do I have left? 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Let's make it count. So, are there any more trouble spots you want me to help you with, or?
Well, there are. I think I do know how to fix them. There's one that is at measure 21, and I think that's the same thing as what we had at measure 5. It's like this chord. And then this chord. And I played with the idea of doing a double down here, but I could do that instead of playing.
I think that might help, but also, what, Are you doing 3, 2, 4 for that chord?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll play around with fingerings while I'm, if I'm feeling uncomfortable about something, I'll test out a different fingering and maybe it'll turn out that it doesn't work, or it'll help me feel more secure in my left hand until I can switch back to the other fingering. So maybe I would, and this just hit me, so you feel free to ignore it, but maybe try go to a 2 on the G, and then do 2, 1, 3. Chords. Fill in the blank. You know how it goes. I would, give that a try. Maybe it would. I don't know. And that's also just speaking to my experience of hating using my fourth finger. So there's something. I don't know. I'm like, it's just a little guy. He's not strong enough. So you could. Is it the fingering that does it, or just the right hand left hand connection?
I think the right hand left hand connection. So I'll try the second finger, and it does look like it would actually fit very nicely. So
it's a possibility, and yeah, that can just be another place that you play around with how you prepare the chord and how you voice the chord. That will make it a little less scary because it's in the middle of the measure. It's not the most important. And for the subject, which bow am I grabbing? 3 bows in front of me. For the subject and the bass, it's on the tail end of it. So that chord is on so arguably the lightest part of the subject. So that chord could be even, lighter. It doesn't need that much weight to it. And that's another layer that you can peel away on the onion that is the G minor fugue. Yeah, seeing where the chords lay in terms of the subject and then giving them that corresponding weight to it, it'll take a lot of the pressure off of having to, crunch those chords, as all violinists know is the struggle. The struggle is very real. Yeah. Yes. Do you want to just play a little bit of the end? Because that's the problem. And I had talked to somebody, like when I played the D minor the other night, the Ciacona, you finish this whole thing and then you just have these little noodly flourishes. I'm like, oh my God, can it just be done already? Oh my God. And but you have to, considering, I've been told that, people only really listen to the beginning of a piece and the end of the piece. And whatever happens in the middle, they will most likely forget about it. So keeping that in mind, that's when you have to just go to whatever reserve tank you have in you and really just, bring it home. So how about you start, do you want to start from 87 and really go for it at the end? Yeah. Strong hand. That was great. And you can end it big, you can end it as a resting point, but again, it's, intention, not necessity. That's the battle with these huge pieces. I'm doing this, technical trick because I'm doing this thing because I want to, not because I can't do it anyway else. Sometimes you have to, give yourself a break, but taking the time to plan those. And I would go through, my last tip is going through and kind of marking in just resting places where even if it's just one note or one chord, where you just kind of like shoulders back, give yourself a breath out and kind of regain your energy to keep going. I think that'll help you from, as you said, pooping out at the end. And I mean, just doing it more and more and practicing it, mentally and physically will help that lock in as well. But that's a big thing that I do is, relax your right shoulder here, relax your hand, stretch out your hand while you're playing this open string. My scores are very weird looking. I don't show them to anyone because they're so bananas crazy, but just that's
just chill flow, and I need to build that into my music. It's very exhausted at the end of this day.
Yes, and I know you can do it.
I'm like, I still need to go.
Yes, that is the exact wrong attitude, but it's very easy. You're like, oh my, I'm only on page 2, and I have like this many pages to go. Yes, it's very easy.
Thank you so much for being part of this masterclass. You sound incredible, and also like the shift from beginning to end was palpable. Like really incredible job.
Yes. Oh, this was so awesome.
It's a pleasure and an honor being here. I don't know if I can listen to the rest of the masterclass. But...
Yes, we are currently live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you just mosey on over to Ars Lyrica's Facebook or YouTube, you'll be there.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yanis.
Nice to meet you virtually and here.
We can see each other again.
Yes. Enjoy the day.
Bye. Okie dokes. Next up, we have Andrew Hatfield, who I am admitting right now. So Andrew is originally from Michigan. Hi, Andrew.
Hello. Oh,
here we go. Kind of. Oh, yeah, now we can hear.
Okay, sorry, I had to play with my settings for just a moment. Sorry about that.
No worries. So, Andrew, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself to get started?
Sure. Right before I do that, I have to commend Yanis, the player before me, on the Bach. First of all, I commend anyone who willingly plays Bach in public, but also it was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm not playing Bach. So I'm unfortunately relatively new to Baroque violin. Not so new to the violin, but to Baroque violin. I just finished my master's in modern violin performance at Michigan State University, and then through a series of very fortunate events, fell completely in love with Baroque violin, and started. Unfortunately, we don't have very many Baroque players or teachers in Michigan at all, really, to speak of. We have a couple great harpsichordists, but not a lot of Baroque violinists. So I was going down to Cleveland to have some lessons with Julie Andrzejewski, and out to Pittsburgh to have some lessons with Andrew Fouts from Chatham Baroque. I went out to New York to have a lesson with Elizabeth, and a few others thrown around there. Indiana to have some lessons with some grad students out there. Then I just found out a couple weeks ago I got accepted to the DMA program in historical performance at Case Western. I studied with Julie Andrzejewski. So very, very lucky. Oh, I forgot. I had some lessons with Jane Starkman in Boston.
Oh, yay.
Oh, they're all so great.
Yeah, I was really, really lucky. I basically just sent emails around and said, "Can I come have a lesson with you?" And they all said yes. So I just mooshed around my friends' couches around the country and had Baroque lessons. So what I'm doing now, I'm kind of choosing pieces that are, not so easy, but sort of technically a little bit less demanding than some of the Bach or some of the other more complex. Like I didn't choose the Bertali Ciacona, it's a little bit more difficult. But I was playing some Baltzar and some Matisse airs, Telemann Fantasias, things, to practice. And I found this Ciacona by Biber, or attributed to Biber at least. It was in an archive of his works. I'm hoping at least that each variation kind of tries to show you something new about the Baroque violin, something new about phrasing and ideas and values at the time. So I've been practicing that, and I was hoping to play it for you today because, not to be creepy, but I so admire the way you play these sort of long dances because they're so interesting, right? And the challenge with the Ciacona is you have this ground for 18 minutes. And I think I said this on one of my comments on one of your videos that you replied to was you play so capriciously, right? There's so many different colors right spontaneously, and I don't know how to do that. So
okay, I will transfer my wisdom, my capricious wisdom. No, I actually had never heard of or heard the Ciacona until I found out you were playing it, and it's such a nice piece.
It's so beautiful. It's a little bit repetitive on the harmonic motion, perhaps.
You know what? Nobody ever says, I don't want D major, so...
It's just so happy.
Yes, it's the happiest of all keys. So, okay, we have until 11:30?
Something like that, I think.
Okay, so I'll listen to as much as I can.
Yeah, of course, it's huge.
Huge, yes. And I want to just lay into the instrument with you. So play, and we'll just see where we get.
Okay. I'll do my best with the strings. It is Michigan here. It snowed 2 or 3 days ago, and it's 70 now. So even inside, this is a little unkind to the strings.
Well, you're learning the joys of gut strings very early on. So
not an excuse for everything, I promise. Just a warning.
Okay, let's work.
Okay.
Yay! Yay! Oh, this is great. I know there's still half of the piece left, and maybe we can work a little bit and see where we can play the rest. First off, I love that I can tell how much you love this music, and that makes me so happy. And because pieces like this, they're not complicated, they're not complex, they're just honestly, celebration. Chaconnes are the best. I could, just put on a playlist of Chaconnes all day and just like dance around my house and be super happy. So what I think we can work on is the passion is already there. You can tell that you know what's going on. And I think just fine tuning what you already have laid out is all we really have to do. And no, everything you're another very relaxed player, which, I think especially to me is so impressive, because when I started out, I was, I don't know how to, I can't do anything.
Yeah, I still revert to that very often. That's, that's a big problem for me, actually.
Well,
I'm glad it didn't come through so much.
No, you looked very relaxed. I think the only transfer over from modern playing is the bow speed. So let's work on that a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that myself. It's too fast most of the time, right?
I won't say most of the time, but just I do notice, and I mean, it happens, it's still, however many years later, happens to, all of us, we kind of get back into, factory settings and the bow. But
especially under pressure, maybe.
Yes, exactly. And actually, when you're feeling that pressure is the time, and as, contradictory as it is, just really, just before you have, your lessons or your auditions or whatever, just, or performances, just, I'm backstage doing the weird, just like shaking it out, trying to relax. And then, especially where you're setting your violin also helps. So I noticed you're definitely on the right side, which is good. I mean, it's all, how your physicality is. We all have a different way of holding it, but I try to center mine a little more. So I'm actually, my chins are are on the tailpiece a little bit.
Okay.
And that kind of helps especially when you're relaxed, keep this flat. And I mean, I know Julie talks about that too. I've heard her talk about it. So she will help remind you. And that, it also just helps the bow stay a little more stable. Because if the violin is turning this way, and I mean, I'm guilty of that. We're all guilty of that too. Then you kind of lose that, that stability of the contact point. And especially for, when you have these passages of 8th notes, 16th notes, everything is switching on a dime. I think you want that stability so you can, I don't have my short bow with me, so I'm just going to choke up a million.
Anything to make it stable, right?
Well, I also, short bow, good for you. Yay. It took me a very long time to tackle the short bow. I can't do it, but for you.
Julie said right away, she's to get yourself a short bow.
Oh, she's going to be, you guys are going to be great. I'm very excited to, see your Baroque journey.
Me too.
Yes. Yeah, so having the stability when you have, and you can, move, and I always dance when I play, as you have seen, but that also helps if you're, getting into the music stuff, at least this area is stable, and I mean, I know you were talking about strings. We could talk strings all day. Mine are also not cooperating here in New York. And
sure. New York's no different.
And having this contact, this, very, very special caress, we will call it, also helps with those squeaks. Fun fact, the recital recording that I did for last Friday, when I was recording it, my E string especially, I couldn't breathe on it without it, so I just had to, I was like, well, this needs to get done. This is performance. It's, it's happening whether I like it or not. So, okay, so here are the, the tricks that I need to do to help it from squeaking. So I want you to, this is going to be, a practice trick that we're going to try in front of the internet. So I want you to try to use as little bow as possible. Just play your opening, starting in measure, scream like that, starting in measure 17 when the notes start. So try to use as little bow as possible. And I do this is my practice habit most of the time. It's just, just see how dense, and if you can make this beautiful sound with as little bow as possible. Just try. Yeah, it's not going to sound great, but. See, you make just as much sound and just as resonant a sound as, if you were doing it with even with a long bow. And it also, when you're doing your slow practice and trying to lock in your intonation, that also helps.
Yeah, it does. Painfully obvious when a few of those are gone.
Yeah, it helps you find the center of the note that much more quickly. And I'll keep her out with me. And especially, I would pay attention to that feeling of density or compactness. I won't call it density when you're doing 16th notes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because with all these, flowing notes, the shape can come from changing up how much bow you're using. So if you have, just whatever, changing up the, I'm trying not to hit my table as I demonstrate for you, because I'm going old school Russian teacher and sitting in my chair while I play for you. Cool feeling. That's where you're gonna find these, highs and lows. Is because the left hand, you got the left hand already. You can always practice more, but the wow factor comes for the right hand. So I also think you could maybe just drop your wrist like a fraction. Just a fraction. I get stuck in the swan a little bit too. So just kind of checking in as you're working and even as you're playing, just checking in with yourself and maybe just that's a little like a little bit. Or even if that's just your comfort level, everybody is different. So I'm not trying to, force my setup. No. Yeah, force my setup on anyone. I would think about engaging the first finger. So even if you're up here, that will also help with your contact. Just engage your first finger, so you get. It's like I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
And then if I'm not, it's kind of, you get the sound, but if you engage your first finger, it gets just that much deeper into the string and gets that. Left bow. Four bow.
Sorry?
Left bow.
Let's go.
Yeah. You feel how much deeper in the string that is?
Yeah, it does. That's a good way. It does feel deeper. Yeah.
Yes. Well, because when I started out on Baroque, it took a while for me to, there's kind of a trust issue with it,
Yeah, right.
I don't know how this is gonna go. So you tend to, everybody who's starting out, or sometimes even now if you're just not feeling 100% comfortable with how your instrument is, floating on the strings, you're like, oh, it's safer up here, but actually when you get that's the danger zone. And so when you just relax and just kind of trust that the happy place is deeper in the string, you're going to unlock just that much more resonance, that much you'll see the capabilities of your instrument. And no matter like if you're playing on $1 million violin or $2,000 violin, like the potential for that beautiful sound is definitely there. So let's just play. Can you start from 25 for me?
Sure.
And play around with your bow pressure. Try locking in this guy and give me just a little more highs and lows as you're going up and down. See what you can do. Challenge number two is going to be use less bow on the 16th than you do on the 8th.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it sounds really nice under my ear. It's hard to tell what comes through, but one of the things that I do so love about this instrument compared to the modern is that there's this sort of readiness to the tone. It's somehow a little more visceral. But you can sort of, you can't actually, but it's almost that you can physically feel it a little more. It feels a little more tactile in a way.
Yeah. Okay.
Sound. And I do get more of that, I find. I did that time around. I got more of that, which I like.
Yes. Well, the main difference is, for lack of a better word, the gut strings are, a little more alive.
Yeah.
Even though they're, from dead animals. But they're a little more alive, and they just take that much more care. And that sounded, it already sounded good, obviously, but, just took it to that next level. When you changed the bow speed between the 8ths and the 16ths, they actually sounded more equal.
Yeah.
Which is, just this weird acoustics thing where there was a lot more unity to the sound. And I think even just in those 20 measures that you played with me, there's so much more room for shapes and characters, because you have, and this is just, I would encourage you, as you keep working on this stuff, is finding those silly characters, especially in a Ciacona, when, it's just do, 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 yeah. So I always think of the 8th note passages and pieces like this as a little kind of like hobbly.
Yeah.
So, and you can be a lot more rustic, like little hoedowny, and then the 16th notes are the the sophisticated, oh, hit my table.
Sorry.
Teacher. That's where you can search for the silvery sound as opposed to the rustic sound. And then you have more of your, 16th, and in the, in 33, that's this fun, jumpy passage where you could come off the string if you want to, And you can play around with off the string and then laying in with that glorious, first finger pressure. And then 37, you have this 2 measures of this beautiful singing.
Yeah, I love this.
That's when you can just drop the curtain and you're somebody else. Oh, I'm an opera singer for these 2 measures. And then
I know this. I love this little thing.
Little Nick McGee calls it the Valley Girl. Little dippy, they're even on this first page. I'm seeing so much just fun and schizophrenic. So I think as you explore more your relationship with the instrument, those voicings and characters will come out even more. So I want to hear that little bit again, and then we'll move on to another technical adventure. But I just kind of want to see you play around a little more, and keep in mind you don't need to use the whole bow. Just kind of be mindful. Use that first finger of what you want to do. Yeah, as I said to Yanis, just take me on a trip.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to tune up my A. It went down a little.
How dare you!
Good enough.
Good enough for jazz. That's what we say.
Is there a particular measure you wanted me to start specifically?
How about the same place, 25.
25,
and
sure.
Go until 41.
Sure.
Yeah. Yay! Oh, that was much better.
There was one note I was unhappy with.
Go and make these shapes. You can add, little extra touches, and I would, once you get that high F exactly how you want it, if you decide you want to add a little, because it is so different.
Yeah.
So different from what you had before. You could add a cheeky I don't know. I just thought of that. 'Cause I was That needs more notes. A little or into this. Because those are two measures of you're the biggest diva in the world. Why not?
Why not be a diva? The biggest diva in the world.
Be a diva? But by I using ornaments to cover technical things is not not something I advocate for. I've been busted for it by many teachers before, and so I learned my lesson. So I would just work tiny steps outwards, and once you get that F how you want it, if you want to add something into it and then incorporate that beautiful tone that you have worked on, I think that would be super fun, because of the weirdest four measures that I've ever seen in my life.
We haven't even gotten to some of the later weird four measures.
That's also true. Let's work on the chords a little bit.
Yeah.
In 65.
Yeah.
So this is another it's another pressure thing, and especially, when you're having a squeaky day, there will be many, many, many squeaky days to come for you, I promise.
Yeah,
what helps me is, I think, about pulling in. So you see?
Yeah, I can see.
Instead of just, see, I got a great sound there too.
Still sounds beautiful when you do it.
If you just pull it, you're gonna hit. And I have a thread, a loose thread on my E. So if you hit it that way, it's gonna squeak. But if you caress it that much more, try pulling in.
Right.
Try that. That just goes whoosh.
Yeah, it does.
Can you try that passage, the passage in 65, and try pulling in on those chords and see how that makes you feel?
Yeah. Oh.
No squeaks.
No, that was one. Yeah, thank you. That works.
Never use squeaky strings as an excuse again.
Okay, fair. You got it.
No, it's always an excuse. I still use it. But just thinking about, because there's always the odds are there's going to be one of your strings that is not cooperating, one or more. So just remembering that contact is so important. Like when you get to those chords, just like, okay, I'm going to relax. I'm just going to pull in, and so I won't squeak. And I saw you were using a little less bow, and I appreciated that.
That helps a lot, actually. I think that helps substantially.
Yes, it's the
lower bow, more compact bow.
Yes.
Less room for error, perhaps.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the hardest thing to kind of seal in, because when we're working on steel strings, you breathe on them and they resonate, and you can just, I make the loudest sound in the world.
With enough vibrato, it all works.
Yes. The intonation kind of settles a lot more easily than on the gut strings. So taking the time to kind of relearn that and, get to know your new instrument is super important.
Yeah.
So I would focus on that a lot. Just
I will.
Trying this out. Well, because it seems like you're gobbling up repertoire because you love it so much. So even just taking a step back and just, I'm going to work on these 20 measures or whatever, just using my special new technique, and then it'll transfer to when you're just playing, and it will be awesome. Let's do that cool slur staccato triple E part.
Yeah, I was actually really curious about this one. So I did some research I actually can't find another example of Biber using this 3-note staccato thing.
D minor sonata from D Dorian from the 1681 something collection. Because I worked on it. It's yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll take a look at it. I couldn't find one, so I wasn't really sure how to do it. I kind of had to use my good.
I guess it's a little different from this one, but there's still like those slurs with staccatos, and you have to like. I think you could, because it happens so often. I think you could kind of experiment with it, where oh, wait, we're not in D minor anymore.
Major minor.
Oh, that's so fun! You can do this all night. I think you could experiment doing the more bow vibrato-y thing that I saw you were doing, and try flattening the hair.
Okay.
And just throwing it a little bit.
Okay.
And that first finger contact will help you control the balance.
Okay.
So give it a try. Don't worry what comes out, just give it a try. Woo!
The swan thing isn't helping. I gotta go flatten that.
Yeah, see? And then maybe when when you get a repeated part, that's when you could smooth it out, and I mean, it's ridiculous, but it's also ridiculous.
It's so much of Biber's music is ridiculous. The sonata representativa, it's all ridiculous.
Yeah, I think you could try that out and just play around with that. I thought it sounded awesome. Made me very happy.
Thanks. I'll keep practicing. I'll keep playing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all of your help. Thank you.
Listen, that's the best we can do is just keep practicing. And for the 34th.
Yeah, the really fast.
Millionth notes. That is, it's so tempting when we violinists see fast notes. We're just like, I play them loud, I play them fast. Really just dig in. But these flourishy things, they actually are more, I mean, in my opinion, more like impressive and effective if that's the sprezzatura moment.
Right, okay.
Where you're just, I'm playing a million notes and I don't even care. Yes. Barefoot, I'm so bored. And having that, whatever attitude and relaxing again, just relaxing and laying off a little bit will help them speak more. Because if you're, it's a little stressful, but if you're just light and fleet, it helps them speak better, and you can shape more easily instead of, you kind of dig yourself into a hole if you just start right out the gate.
Yeah. Go!
Yeah. It's like, for Narnia, the Narnia reference.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to try a little bit? Where is that?
The really hard one comes about 164-ish, or, yeah.
Like, take me to the place with all the notes. Can you start, how about you start 161 when that thing starts?
This is my equivalent of the terror spot of the Bach.
And this is the part when you smile, and, when you're playing with continuo, they're giving you a nice lead-in, you give them a little nod. Nobody else needs to know, but you guys are all like, okay, it's happening, and it's going to be great. So just, give it a try.
Okay.
How'd that feel?
It feels okay. It gets scarier at the end. There's so many of them that get scary at the end.
And that's just, I would write it, just write it in your music. I have this marking everywhere in my parts. Chill out.
Okay.
Right? Alana says relax, like whatever you want, but that, sometimes you just need a little, you need your friend on your shoulder to just calm down. Cut it out. And calm down, shoulders back, because it's, you have the little bit, okay, and then just you go into your meditative state, and you're like, I'm just playing. The notes could be a lot worse. Just kind of seal in those scalar passages so it becomes second nature, and you've made it up to the high E every time.
Yeah.
It's going to be there, just rest, and also, by the time you get to the end, make sure it's a graceful, like curtsy.
Yeah. All of a sudden, this sweet little trill, all that work, and then you just tumble.
Yeah, and not just, oh my God, I'm done. Yes. How much time do we have, Emma?
I think we might be out.
So you're a minute. Okay. Well, I think we did a lot of great work on this, and I think it's going to just keep getting better and better, because the improvement was 10,000%. Just shrinking your tiny bow even that much more. And
constantly working on that for a little bit, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we all got the time. Just
yes, we do.
we got the time. Keep working, and yeah, you're gonna be great at Case. Oh, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you so much for your help and just constant inspiration. Thank you for. I asked very last minute to participate in this, so also thank you for everyone for allowing that.
Yay! No, this was awesome.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for playing. You sounded great. I cannot wait to see where your future takes you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who tuned in to our first live virtual masterclass. This was super fun. Alana, thank you so much for being such an inspiring teacher. And for kind of letting us be part of the process. I know that I at least found this so interesting, and it's been super fun to watch.
Oh, great. No, thank you for having me. It was nice to just talk music and hear some amazing players, and it made me very happy today. Yay. Good job, guys. Wow.
So thank you everyone once again. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.